on this episode of the Star Wars Time Show. Matt and Nick return from their break to bring you another round of Star Wars hot takes. What sort of inflammatory things will they say? Maybe you'll agree with the hot air they'll spew. Maybe you'll think they have even less brain cells than you already did. Stay tuned to find out. And of course, they'll end the show with the question of the week responses and the latest round of Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie. Hey, now, my friends, we're back again. Even though my dumbass showed up last Wednesday anyways, even though I said I wouldn't, because I've got problems. Hey now, welcome back, everyone. We are here. We are not going to say what you used to say back in the day when you'd say that, because, you know, we're nice guys and don't want to get canceled. But it's good to see everyone. Like I said, it's been about 2 weeks since both of us been sitting here strapped into the cockpit of SWTS HQ. Last week, Nick was on vacation, and I promised to myself, you know what, I'm going to take the week off too. It's too bad Nick and I didn't coordinate, because that would have been a lot better, because I'm off this week. So, but it is what it is. And I failed, Nick. They put out it was a pretty good little sizzle reel BTS cast crew interview for Andor Season 2, where they really dug into the Gorman massacre and confirmed that that is the scene we've been seeing, that is going to showcase for the first time in live action canon, that massacre that eventually leads Mon Mothma to leave the Senate and declare the Rebel Alliance officially, which we did see in Rebels. Remember, she declares with the Phoenix crew on the Ghost, I believe, and then heads off to Dantooine. So with all that knowledge in tow, Nick, it's pretty much confirmed that we are going to see Dantooine. Yeah. We are going to see the Gorman massacre. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. We got more details from Lord Gilroy himself. But I think Andor Season 2 is shaping up to be essentially Star Wars excellence blown at your face with the pace of a fire hose. All right? Now remember, we're getting a movie 4 weeks straight. It's going to be a lot to consume. The Lord himself said, I kind of feel bad for content creators and reviewers because you all are going to be slogging through this month of Andor. So he listens, first of all, to the SWTS, and he feels our pain. All right, everyone, let's say hello to some of the locals here. We got Bango showing back up. Tones is probably taking a dump on the job, showing some support. We love you. Bango's on a Friday, which means he's probably going to get saucy with some red wine and say, you don't know what he's going to say. That's why you got to always tune in every Wednesday to see what Bango's up to. We got props in here. We got Sir Dork loving life. Michael Kramer with the return. What up, Mike? Good to see you. So it's good to be back. All right, man. Anything exciting happened last week? Your little time off? Did you get a little throw some beads, show your titties to anyone?
Yeah, we went to some parades. It was a good time. I wasn't throwing beads. I was having beads thrown at me. So, yeah, no, it was a good time. It was the first time that Taylor's ever been to a Mardi Gras parade before. So that was a super fun experience for her. And most of it was, good weather outside. Good times, no, like, crazy drunk people that we got stuck interacting with or anything like that. So it was fun. It was fun all around for sure. So got to eat some good New Orleans food as well.
Some gumbo. Did you get you some crawdaddy gumbo?
Got some crawfish. My cousin boiled some crawfish when we were there. Got to eat a shrimp po' boy. All the good stuff. So yeah, enjoy. Awesome. It was a nice few days off, but after Mardi Gras, I was working from Wednesday to Friday, I told Matt while I was there, I was like, I wish I would have just taken the whole fucking week off.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I did not.
All right. Well, hey, I got to follow up on that, but Michael Kramer is throwing some cashola our way, so we got to acknowledge that. We appreciate you, buddy. And he's getting right into it, Nick. He couldn't wait for Ask Us Anything, so he dropped a dime on your face. What are your thoughts on Kellen Moore being the new HC down there in New Orleans?
I mean, it was the best option available for sure. I mean, even considering the other coaches that went off the board, Ben Johnson and the other big names that were out there, I feel like Kellen Moore and the staff that he's been able to bring on so far really gives me hope for this season. It's been a very rough stretch last 4 years or so for the Saints since Sean Payton left, but Kellen Moore obviously knows how to run a strong offense, just won the Super Bowl. Even when he was with the Cowboys, the offense looked strong at that time. Interested to see what Brandon Staley's defense is going to look like. We've been running the same defensive scheme for a long time, so it might take a little bit of time for the old hats in New Orleans on the defense to get used to the new scheme and play calling. But I'm confident that we'll have a better performance than we did last year at the very least.
Right.
I'll just say that. So
well, you're better off than my team. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're going to get themselves locked in with Aaron Rodgers probably. They already let Justin Fields go, the only young quarterback out there that was available, and they just paid DK Metcalf a shit ton of money. And there's no quarterback to throw to him. So, yay. And yeah, Mike Tomlin's still there. So it really doesn't matter. Fuck the Steelers. They blow. Fire Mike Tomlin. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bango, we know you're a Giants fan. Like, listen, I'll try to commiserate with you. It's hard. Because, again, I've been watching just the standard be not the standard for quite some time. So, screw Tomlin. Yay, Nick's team. All right, everyone, here we go. All right, we got someone here, Star Wars is gay, literally. Okay, that's fair. That's your point. You could always be a Raiders fan. That's right, McDub 2010. At least you got Tom Brady attached to your organization these days. I think, if anything, he might be the fix you need, or at least getting into, what's his name's ear. Who owns that? What son of a famous or rich guy owns that now? I forget the last name of the Raiders dynasty family. Yeah, but either way.
Davis?
Yeah, there you go. But the kid Davis, so.
Yeah, Mark Davis. No. Yeah, Mark Davis. Al Davis was the original owner.
Hey there, Imperial Activity. Good to see you. Good to see you, Mark Davis. All right. The haircut. That's right, McDub. I like that. The haircut,
geez,
Mark Davis. Yeah, that is some toupee that dude wears. All right. We'll kind of get off football for a second, but I'll tell you right now, it's going to also come back and ask us anything. If you're on the live stream and you see my new attire, there's a reason for that. I continue to remind myself that in my old age, I probably shouldn't try to hang out with little kids and do little kid things. This past weekend at an indoor water park while swimming in the wave pool with my little one, she was like, hey, do some flips underwater like me. So I did, and on the second rotation, I gooshed my head off the bottom of the pool. So I now essentially have a third eye like Doctor Strange. So I'll show it to everyone once. There it is. Looking good. Okay. Luckily, the harsh white light bouncing off my bald head kind of washes it out.
Yeah,
but it's Nick, it's legitimately a third eye. I mean, it looks like I had a horn and someone cut it off. So yay me. Yay being a dad, yay getting fucked up as an old person, have to walk through life explaining yourself to people that you're fucked up. So thank you. Yeah, we'll get there. Hot take time. We'll get there, Darth Cat. It's coming. If you're new here, this is quite usually about a 2-hour show. So if you want to come back and say 30 minutes or so, we'll be knee deep into the hot takes. We've got 14 new ones, 10 of our own, 4 from the fans. We'll be bringing them at you. Might even used a little AI to help this time because brain was feeling a bit rusty. How did I do it, props? I was in a pool swimming, doing forward rolls underwater, and on the second rotation, I didn't realize I was that far enough down that my body had started moving down in the water. Therefore, on the second turn through, my head violently hit the bottom of the pool. So I hate myself. I feel like a douchebag, and that's that. All right. All right, here we go. Bango. In lieu of beads, I can send cash. Nick, show us those boobies. All right. We got $10 for some boob shots. Come on, Nick.
We will definitely get banned from
at least a hairy nipple. Come on.
No.
Yeah, speaking of the beads, we went skiing this last Friday, and there's a bunch of beads in the trees going up to the chairlift, and I had to explain to my little one what that was. I was like, people get excited and want to see people. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, let's go ahead and do a little Ask Us Anything, and then we'll get into our main Star Wars topics of the day, because there is always time for Star Wars time, or so we say. All right, so let's get those peeled up here, my friend. Not a lot of questions this week, which is quite all right. Keeps the show moving. But like I said, here comes the sports talk again. So this coming from Mac122198, aka our man that was just in here, Kramer. He's asking me, what are your thoughts on the DK Metcalf deal, and how's life been for you guys? So again, I think the DK Metcalf deal, without a legitimate starting quarterback, is just a waste of money and ties up cap space. So there's my thoughts on that. I don't think Omar has done anything good in this offseason besides let talent leave for relatively low prices. All right, Najee Harris is gone. He went to the Chargers for less than $10 million. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, Steelers they blow. Let's go Ohio State, keep winning titles. And how's life been for you guys? If I'm being 100% honest, I'm in a bit of a lull, okay? I've the darkness has risen a bit again, even though I beat it down over the past year through therapy. But for whatever reason, some things have happened, hitting my head. I've been kind of in a toilet bowl type of mind space, which has sucked. But I'm hoping to get out here soon. So Nick, how's life been for you, buddy?
It's been pretty good. I'm interviewing for a very exciting position that I am really hoping goes well. I'm in my third round interview for that job, and out of 5. So I have my third round interview next Friday. So positive vibes from the SWTS crew would be very much appreciated. If I do get that job, I would have to move to Florida, which for this job I would not complain about. But that is one thing that would come along with it. So going through that process, and then had a fun trip over to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. It was my first time going to Mardi Gras in 10 years, so that was very nice. But yeah, work stressful as always, but hopefully things go well with this potential job.
Wow, hey, look at that.
So yeah,
he'll be picking up and moving from one loving state to another loving state. Nothing wrong with that down there in the South. You know what I mean? All right. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for...
apparently I can't get out of the South. We'll see.
Things ain't much better in the North or the Midwest, pal, so don't worry about it. It's all... We're all having a good time here, right? Life is good. Go Gulf of America, all that fun stuff. You know what I mean? Only the important stuff here. Okay, next question, and our last question coming from our boy Spa Spencer. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it having the stomach bug, especially after your kid and they mock you? Well, Nick, you've never had a kid to mock you, but what's your thoughts on stomach bugs, and do you enjoy them?
I mean, definitely not. The only good thing is that if you're looking for some quick weight loss and you get yourself a stomach bug that lasts a couple days, you might drop a couple LBs, and then if you play your cards right, you keep it off. So look at it that way. It definitely sucks in the moment, but hey, if you lose a little bit of weight from it and you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, go ahead and keep that off.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've had the old gut bug, but I had a horrific one Christmas break of 2023 where it was literally shitting in the morning, vomiting in the evening, waking up, some shit, some puke, some shit, some puke, puke then shit, puke then shit. But like Nick said, for someone like me that doesn't love getting too large because I am a small dude and it looks weird, it was one of my best Christmas breaks ever because I barely gained any weight because I was just sitting there yakking and chatting on the toilet. So my kid does not make fun of me when I'm doing that. She just says I smell like shit and should go into another room when I need to pass gas that does not have material in it. All right, so that is that for the Ask Us Anything segment. We typically get a bit more, so make sure you are always keyed into our socials, especially on Instagram, where we actually get the question box that you can fill in, but we also put it up on Discord and YouTube. It's all out there. We get it. We're being buried again because we've been out of Star Wars season since Skeleton Crew. All right, we got some people coming in here. Clone Wars 501st, what's up? Coming in from Ireland. No St. Paddy's Day plans here. That's never really been a huge holiday for me. I guess when I was younger, it was a good excuse to kind of be stupid in college, but these days, no big plans whatsoever. Good to see you in the chat there, Clone Wars.
Yeah, if I was in New Orleans, there's also a St. Patrick's Day parade that runs on St. Patrick's Day weekend, so I would likely be going to that. But gotcha. Also no St. Paddy's Day plans.
Yeah, when is it? Was it like next Monday or something?
I think it's. I know that the New Orleans parade is on the 16th, so I do think it is that Monday. Right. Yeah, it's usually the Monday after the parade.
Hey there, Divided. Nice to see you coming in. I think Divided is hanging up there in the vertical stream. Get some. Monday it is. Bango confirms for us. St. Paddy's Day will be Monday. Thanks again to Bango and our boy, damn it, I keep forgetting everyone's name, Kramer, for your super chats in that segment. Let's talk a little pop culture talk here, Nick. I've never read the book. I'm a fan of, what's his name? Bong Joon-ho or whatever. The guy that did Parasite and some other movies. So I wanted to go check out Mickey 17. I also think Robert Pattinson has turned into quite a fine actor over the years. I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't think he's just some Twilight slouch. You know what I mean? Like he's got variety in the characters he's portrayed. And I'd say Mickey 17 and all the other Mickeys you see in this movie are probably some of his most unique takes on a character in terms of how he decided to act it out. I don't know if it was direction from the book or the script or the director, but I mean, Pattinson definitely was playing not Robert Pattinson, if that makes sense. So this movie, Nick, like I said, I don't know if you heard of it or if you knew of the book it's based on, but essentially it's in the near future, and we're trying to expand in the colonies, and you got to get on these ships, and Mickey just so happens to get on the ship, and his best ticket to guarantee himself a seat is to become what is known as an expendable, which is essentially a reprintable human. Yes. Yes. I mean, think 3D printing, but with human bodies, and you just re-download those memories. And essentially, Nick, these expendables are used to figure shit out on these new planets. Are there viruses that can kill you? Will this monster eat you? How long can you be out in space before radiation melts you and turns you blind? So that's what Mickey's life is.
Interesting.
So you kind of get that dynamic, like, is this even right, even though Mickey signed up for it? Should I feel bad for Mickey? Why did people treat him this way? What the hell's going on? So it's a very interesting science fiction type of existential thinking movie, all right? I enjoyed it. I do think it's about the 7.5 that I see it getting on other platforms. The first act, very strong. Middle act gets a little muddy once this things with multiples kind of comes into play. But then it kind of closes things out and has a nice little ending. So if you've been missing out on some sci-fi or some far future cloning type of shit and you want to get back into that headspace, Mickey 17 is not a waste of your money.
Star Wars link as well with Naomi Ackie, who played Janna in Tross.
Correct, and she's essentially the second lead, so you get a lot of Janna in this, and she also plays a fun character, kind of the pants of the relationship between her and Mickey. I don't want to go too far, but let's just say they're kind of friendly, and she's definitely more of a power player than Mickey himself. So it's a good flick. Like I said, it's probably a little too long, definitely a little too long, but worth checking out in theaters. Hey there, Cole Cohen from Scotland. I wish we could talk properly like you all, but we can't because we need to understand each other. Nick Bango is recommending, which we'll recommend to everyone if you're looking for a good sci-fi book series, Children of Time.
That's a good call because I know that Taylor has been looking for some new books to read. She's been, she finished the Wheel of Time series a while ago, and she hasn't really had something that she's clung on to yet, another book series. So I will definitely pass this recommendation on to her. And hey, I might read it myself after I finish the Jurassic Park book.
Like, Divided must have missed the story why I have to wear this hat. It is a Star Wars hat. I think it came from like a smuggler's bounty box all those years ago. See?
Oh, yes.
See the little AT-ATs up there? But yeah, Divided, I have to wear this now because if I wear my baseball hat, it will squish my new third eye that I gave myself. So you can even see some of the cheese sticking to the inside of this hat. So it's a good scrape. I mean, imagine the old days when you used to scrape your knee. Imagine doing that right on top of your fucking head and you're bald. So I'm more or less going to have a spot on my head probably the rest of my life, but at least a noticeable red, achy looking spot most of this summer. So it was perfect timing to do that right when things are thawing out up here. I love myself. Totally love myself.
The good thing about scars like that, Matt, is you can make up a story to tell people that don't know about it and then just make yourself seem like a badass.
No, it's I already had the story. I mean, I fucking headbutted someone at a bar. There we go.
There you go.
Defending the honor of my wife.
Yeah.
Because look, Nick, I love Star Wars. Broke out the shirt. It's been a while. I wish Adrian still listened to us because this is one of the greatest things a fan has ever said.
Look at that shirt. That's a fun shirt.
That shirt is prime. Honestly, I should just stop wearing it and hang it up. I mean, that it's that
frame
good.
It.
Yeah, it's like a jersey. I mean, essentially, it's my jersey. All right, so there's your Mickey 17. Now, there's some time for Star Wars time, right? So 2 weeks ago, Nick and I were talking to you all about the rumor about Kathleen Kennedy from Puck News, and we're like, hey, can you kind of pump the brakes on this shit? I know Deadline covered it and THR, but when the source is literally Puck News, and Puck News is known for kind of putting some vomit out there, that's why I was like, just be calm. Let's not run with this like Lucasfilm actually released a press release saying KK has been terminated and Dave Filoni is her replacement. Because, lo and behold, once all that noise started to happen, Kathleen Kennedy phoned up the press and said, hello, Deadline. I'd like to talk about all this dumb shit in the media right now, okay? So we actually got the lady talking. And we're using Bespin Bulletin's site because I'm lazy and I don't feel like scrolling through the quotes of the Deadline article. And Bespin did a great job just highlighting the main points from the article that Nick and I are just going to cover real quickly here. All right. We'll see you, Tones. We love you.
Thanks for coming out, Tones.
But first and foremost, excuse me, Kathleen Kennedy is not leaving Lucasfilm anytime soon.
Told you so.
Yeah, I'm talking 10 more years easy, if not longer. She's not stepping down as president right now. They have not named a successor right now. She says that they may announce a successor and their succession plans by the end of this year. But she ain't going anywhere. She also doubled down, like, listen, even if I do step down as the head of Lucasfilm, I'm still the lead producer on the Simon Kinberg trilogy, on the Sean Levy movie, on the Rey movie, on Mandalorian Grogu. So she is not going anywhere. All right. And this isn't us defending her. Okay. We've given our piece on some of her missteps, but we're just clarifying the mud that was kind of flung around. So other interesting points from this, Nick, Simon Kinberg definitely doing a trilogy, and Kathleen has described it as the next iteration to get us into Star Wars. She did not confirm if it's going to be 10, 11, 12, but his trilogy, from what she's saying, is the next wave of Star Wars trilogy to kind of start the new timeline of telling stories. All right. So
nice. Yeah.
That is coming.
Awesome.
And it will be set after episode 9.
Jared just dropped a bomb on us just to call it out, Matt. $20 says loves you dudes.
Holy shit.
He cannot stay for the rest of the cast, but appreciate you coming in, Jared. And then he's told you to check out the Star Wars merch at PacSun. So there you go.
Are we talking like Pacific Sunwear? I mean, does that store still exist? Or is PacSun like a new Temu or something?
PacSun in malls near you, right?
Well, I will, Sir Dork, and I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for that. I know he's probably digging into his Sir Dork channel kitty to throw around those big bucks, but we love you, man, and you are a stud. Hey, Doty's in here. Doty and Props. This is like a first for the first time in a long time. They're over there checking out Will of the Forces content these days and not the SWTS. We see everything. See it? I see everything. No one is
spies.
No one is safe
from
the eyes of SWTS. No one is safe, people. No one is safe.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
We love you guys.
Good to see you.
Anyways, some more news, Nick, that Kathleen dropped in this article. Sean Levi's Star Wars movie is going to be the next movie to hit theaters after The Mandalorian Grogu, so the Rey movie definitely should be considered to be delayed indefinitely at this point in time. She said it's going to take place about 4 to 5 years after Episode 9. It will be standalone. But as Sean said, there may be potential for Rey to make an appearance. There was also no confirmation if Ryan Gosling is actually going to be the lead in Sean's movie. So we know for sure now that Sean's movie is coming out after Mandalorian Grogu, so probably, Nick, 2027?
Yep.
And then Simon Kinberg is working on the next Star Wars trilogy, which I wish I probably should just get the exact quote here. Which blah, blah, blah. This is the next iteration, the new saga that moves us into the future. Okay, that's what she's saying. All right, Nick, I guess since I've just been sitting here word vomiting, what do you take that as next iteration? Is it truly going to be 10, 11, 12, picking up with Rey's temple, or are they going to do kind of like what they did in between 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9? And almost create a new cast, new stories, new everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there is the Rey standalone film that's floating around out there, and if that is used as like an establishment point for what Simon Kinberg's trilogy is going to be, then I could see it being like, okay, the Rey film with Charmaine as the director will be like the primer, and then Simon Kinberg's trilogy will be the next. Is it 10, 11, 12? Do they move away from the numbering system now that, like, we have presumably moved away from the Skywalker trilogy? I know that Rey took the last name Skywalker as like an adopted child would. But I would prefer it if we moved away from the numbering system. I think that, like, we have told that story to its completion, in my opinion, and perhaps it's time to move away from it. But depending on the release cadence of this, I would imagine that if we are keeping Rey as a central character into the future of Star Wars, then Simon's trilogy would likely involve her. If not, and there's a larger time jump, then it would be really interesting to see if we do kind of approach this with a completely clean slate, because I do think that a clean slate in a film trilogy is probably the best way to move forward with Star Wars at this point. I think that over time, it'll be appreciated to have a story that's told from the perspective of a completely, unattached group of people to what we've already known. So yeah, I mean, I think it has the possibility to be both, but given the fact that, like, Rey has a standalone film coming out, it kind of makes more sense to me that they would probably spin off of that with Kinberg's trilogy. But we'll see. Obviously, nothing is written in stone when it comes to Star Wars films these days. Yeah,
so I don't know. I mean, I'm excited for the Sean thing, because I honestly, he hasn't really done a movie that I've been like, this guy kind of sucks. I mean, I think Sean Levi has hit some winners over the past few years, but I'm probably more excited for the trilogy just based on the fact that Simon Kinberg is a Star Wars alum.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he helped bring Rebels to life, and I consider Rebels to be one of the better new Star Wars projects in the past, 10 plus years. It's been a while, but yeah, so. All right, so that's that. That's all your clarifications on the Kathleen stuff.
Yeah.
So moving on to the belle of the ball. Seriously, I'm like, no joke. This guy is one of my new favorite Star Wars creatives just because of his ego and the way he interacts with the press. I actually think he's the best with the press, Nick. I mean, I think he gives the press exactly what they want, and I'm starting to believe he knows exactly what he's doing. He loves this. He loves this game, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, you're not on the live stream looking at the pictures, so come join us 5:30 East, Wednesdays, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show, because you would see a lovely mugshot of our Lord and Savior, not Jeebus H. Christ, Lord Tony Gilroy. Ah! This man is a national treasure. Okay? Every one of us should respect him. Everyone should grovel at his feet and give him praise. He truly is Star Wars. He may be George Lucas reincarnated, but better. Okay?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That's right. Look, Devin knows what's up. Lord Gilroy. We speak his name. We certainly do. We certainly do.
Gilroy looks like he could lead an Imperial
That's
fleet.
right, Bango. Gilroy looks like he could lead an Imperial fleet. This guy is just the best. Like, I mean, he is the best. I highly encourage everyone to go check out Reddit leaks or at least your Star Wars news sources, because he is all over the place these past 2 weeks, hyping up Andor Season 2. Yeah, Thrawn Kill, I do believe he has a brother. But I don't think his brother has been knighted by us yet. So it's just just Lord Tony for now. But he's out doing his thing, Nick. I believe it's going to be tomorrow. I think he's doing like a live rewatch of Andor Season 1. If people are interested in that, I almost want to tune in and hear this guy talk about his own work live, because I think it's going to be fucking awesome. Because I'll just be like, look at that, great shot, great cut there, great edit. Great lines, great script.
He just talks to himself. He's like, gosh, Tony, that was such a good line. That was such a good camera movement, Tony.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, everything's going to be like, oh, Tony, I'm so glad you told us to do this. Or I'm so glad you put those notes in there to make sure we did that. But yeah, for those of you interested, like, there's a lot of Andor Season 1 content coming out. They really want to pump people up. Nick, I believe they've put it on Hulu in addition to Disney+. I think they made the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 1 free on YouTube. They've even done a 14-minute Andor Season 1 recap on YouTube, and all this is coming from the official Star Wars channel. So
I'm telling you this, they're really trying to get that money back that this motherfucker blew on this show.
Yeah.
Like, he spent so much money in Season 1 that the show was supposed to be 4 seasons long, and they're like, dude, you blew 3 seasons worth of money in 1 season. You get 1 more. That's it. Oh, man. I fucking love Tony.
Yeah, so he's out here doing some press here. This article comes from Collider. He's doing an interview with Maggie Lovett, and he wants to make the show timeless and all this fun stuff. But really, I just want to comment on a few things he brought up here to add a bit more light to some of the footage we've been seeing, Nick, in the trailers and some of the behind the scenes stuff here. But he's promising that Andor Season 2 is going to clear up the confusion surrounding the Gorman massacre. And here's just a quote that shows you how awesome and how always right this guy is. He says, the passionate Star Wars community will appreciate how we've straightened out that story. All right, Nick, notice how it's Tony and his band of merry writers that are going to fix Gorman, which is a canon event. They're going to fix it for us, okay? Is everyone ready? They're fixing it for us.
We'll see.
All right? So here's what he says. He's talking about, how they're covering the Gorman massacre, which is a canon event. It's, he's talking about how he's getting the 5 years to tell Cassian's story that lead up to Rogue One and all that fun stuff. He confirms that we're going to see Mothma leaving the Senate. He's talking about all the the canonical stuff that he is obligated to cover, the development of Yavin, all that fun stuff. But here's where he goes in. He's like, Gorman, interesting, is canonical. I'm definitely not saying that right.
Canonical.
But completely undescribed. Is that even a word? It's a total blank slate. There's also a bit of confusion about the Gorman Massacre and what is the Gorman Massacre. There's a lot of confusion with canon. So it was an opportunity to rebuild in a really significant way. It's a very significant part of our show that can do a lot of different things for us. Quite honestly, it's very expensive to build. So we really want to use it as much as possible. So it carries over 5 different episodes. I'm really confident that the really deep, passionate Star Wars community will appreciate how we straighten out that story. So there you go, Nick. They're going to take 5 episodes. So essentially something we were asking, will they carry storylines a year into the future? And it looks like they're going to do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand it for the Gorman Massacre, I guess, because you're probably going to in some way tell the lead up to the massacre over that 5-episode stretch, which, as you mentioned, will cover a year minimum worth of time. So it's also crazy to think about that that's going to take up more than half of the show itself, or just about half of the show itself, because it's 12. Is it 12 episodes? So 5 episodes of time spent on just the Gorman Massacre is going to be very interesting, and I wonder if it is told in sequence over that amount of time, if it may drag on a bit. But as he said, there's it's a very expensive thing to build, and they wanted to spend a lot of time on it. So I am very interested to see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, this essentially confirms that we will have carryover storylines between those year jumps. So we'll see. We'll see how he does it. I mean, for those of you that don't know, like, the Gorman Massacre is essentially what was the creation point in official capacity of the Rebel Alliance. It was a attack by the Imperial military against peaceful protests on the planet Gorman, and then that is what spurred Mon Mothma to leave the Senate officially and announce the Rebel Alliance. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out over time, because I imagine that you'll see over that 5-episode stretch, like, things getting tense, things getting a bit out of hand, and then obviously the incursion of the Imperial military. So it'll be a very interesting 5-episode run to watch for sure.
Yeah, sorry, I'm dealing with some outside shit, Nick. If you can vamp for a bit more, I'd appreciate it.
No problem. But yeah, I mean, Gilroy is obviously, like, really good at telling these types of stories. This is what Rogue One was built off of, and obviously he didn't write all of it, but Andor itself is built off of, like, this feeling of, smaller cells, grassroots movements turning into something big that sparks a rebellion within the galaxy. That's essentially what episode or season 1 was about. So using the Gorman Massacre as the primary point of storytelling for season 2 makes a lot of sense, since this is the trigger event for what will become the Rebel Alliance. And I am very interested to see how that works out. Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool point here. I'm reading a little bit more here, and basically one of the other things that I wanted to bring up was they did ask him about the release cadence and how that affected his storytelling and whether that was his decision or not. And he did reveal that was a Disney decision, not his decision. I do find that very interesting, considering that Disney usually tries to extend their storytelling a bit and get people, as we were saying before, get people subscribed as long as possible. So hearing that it was Disney's decision to do the 3-episode group releases kind of goes against what we necessarily expected, but it's what Tony has told us. So very interesting stuff there. And then also looking through this a little bit more. He says, I know this was a a question from Collider. Says, I know when season 1 had finished airing, you mentioned that you were going to release the season 1 scripts. Is that still something that's possible, that's possibly happening in the future? Because I know people still bring it up so often. He says, I wanted to do it. We put it together. It's really cool. I've seen it. I loved it. AI is the reason that we're not doing it. so AI put an end to the desire, or his desire to release all of the season 1 scripts. He says, in the end, it would have been 1,500 pages that came directly off this desk. So meaning his desk.
All right.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy that the season 1 script for all of the season 1 scripts for Andor are 1,500 pages combined, and that they are no longer doing it because of AI. I wonder why, if he's worried that they could feed it into an AI and then just build AI Tony Gilroy to replace him with.
Knowing Tony, I think like you, he shares similar concerns and does not want to give up any of his story ideas to the machine world. So
it definitely, I mean, I think that that's a general thing for like artists and writers. I mean, the art like visual artists for sure, since the advent of like like Wonder AI and all of the other ones, Mid-Journey and stuff like that, they were like, I don't want my shit used to train your AI models off of. So not super surprising from Tony, but
yeah, it's funny. I mean, I put out a Mara Jade explainer last week, Nick, and AI was very kind to me in image generation. Like, it was doing a good job. I'm like, hey, give me a character that looks like Mara Jade from Star Wars, because you can't say, give me her. And it would mostly comply. This week, it's like, fuck you, dude. Gorman Massacre, it's too much. I'm like, how about Gorman Protest? No. How about no? It's like, how about just persecution of a people? No. It's like, all right, well, you must be, Chat GPT must be drinking this week. But last week, it was producing some great assets. And if you want to learn more about Mara Jade, make sure to check out our artificial intelligence podcast host, breaking her down on youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show.
There we go. All right. Yeah. So Tony hitting us with some good stuff on the upcoming season 2 of Andor. He also says that he's trying to make sure that the meet cute, as he put it, between Cassian and K2 feels right. He says, fans have obviously loved B2EMO, but we're ready for K2. I feel like there's a certain degree of pressure, maybe at least from fan perception, of that first meeting for Cassian and K2. What can you tell us about that? And here's what Tony says. He says, yeah, man, the bar is high. I knew it. Just by delaying it off the first season, the controversy of that, nobody was happy about that. I don't think Disney was happy about that. I don't think the fans were happy about that, but there was a reason for it, a really, really good reason for it. But it does mean that I definitely have to deliver on the meet cute, so we'll see how it goes. We're happy with what we have. I do think that was the most surprising thing for Andor season 1, is that you did not get the introduction of K2, at least at the end of that. So that does put a lot of pressure, especially in the release cadence that the show is going to be working off of, to get that right. Because essentially, if you hit us with a K2 Cassian introduction at the end of one of these 3 episode arcs, that means that we're losing a year of time between when they meet and when we'll next see them together. So I really do hope that the meeting between K2 and Cassian happens in episode 1 of an arc, so we have that time to really get to know the relationship, the early relationship between the characters, before jumping on to the next grouping of episodes. So very interested to see how that works. Asked if it was, going into Rogue One, we all knew that there was a suicide mission for better or worse for the characters. Now with Andor, there are a whole lot of characters whose fate we don't actually know in the end. So asking about the possible emotional punch from Andor season 2. And Gilroy says, yes, but not even in matters of life and death. I will say that as we finish the show, when we're mixing and doing color, when you're mixing, you really and you're really in there, and now you're at the end. All the people who worked on the show, the effective time over 24 episodes over 5 years of these intense circumstances that these characters go through with these amazing actors and all the material that they've had to deal with. It's not just whether you live or die. It's the damage. It's the sacrifice you've made, or the sacrifices you haven't made. So it's kind of saying that you're probably not going to get as many crazy deaths as you did at the end of Rogue One, but there's going to be some regret, there's going to be some sacrifice, and there's going to be a lot of emotional baggage that people have to potentially live with through the end of Andor season 2 and into the original trilogy timeline. So I'm very interested to see what he means by that and who is really going to be affected by it. I mean, one character that we definitely know is going to have a long-lasting effect on the Star Wars trilogy into the OT is going to be Mon Mothma. And we know that Andor season 2 is going to be a huge character moment for her. As a character as important as Mon Mothma, who didn't get as much screen time in the original trilogy, we're essentially seeing how she moves from a senator with good intentions to an outward-facing rebel who is now leading, at least in terms of being the figurehead and the most visible face, a rebellion against the imperial government and the imperial army that has taken hold in the galaxy. So I'm very interested to see how her story plays out overall. I mean, ultimately, we know how Cassian's story goes and ends, and by the end of Andor season 2, we will have known his journey from stem to stern through Andor and through Rogue One and his ultimate demise on the beach at Scarif. So the character that I'm definitely most interested in seeing her evolution is Mon Mothma, and then where we end with her in Andor season 2 and how that affects her character perception moving into the original trilogy, because I think that is a very important thing for sure.
Yeah, because honestly, she's a nobody. I mean, outside of some time, development time she gets in Star Wars Rebels, and it's still very minimal. She's no one. I mean, for her level of power, Nick, we never really get to understand her as that person. We see her as this figurehead in Return of the Jedi. She says a few lines, many Bothans this, many Bothans that, wham, bam, thank you. Let the Skywalkers do all the heavy lifting. I'm going to go back and sip on some Chandrillan tea. So I think this, and really what's going to probably take Mon Mothma to the next echelon of like, holy shit, she is a legit Star Wars hero, will be probably the last 6 episodes or so of Andor season 2. Once she leaves the Senate, once she basically calls out Sheev for being a fucking piece of shit for the Gorman massacre, I think you're really going to see Mon Mothma kind of become who we want her to be. Because like I said, I still don't think we've seen Prime Mothma, even though we saw her, many, many years into leading the Rebel Alliance in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, absolutely. So like getting her to that point to where she is this figurehead that's giving the final briefing before the Rebel Alliance goes towards its, potentially its ultimate doom at the end of ROTJ. So now we get to see, how she earned that mantle, which will be very interesting, because I mean, we've always known that, that Leia herself was one of the political figureheads that just transitioned into a rebel leader, like on the ground mission leader, somebody who's in the fight along with the troops. Seeing how Mon Mothma becomes a person that the rebellion can rally around will be interesting, because up to this point through Andor season 1, we're definitely not there yet. And seeing what kind of role Luthen plays in that, because obviously Luthen is now the one who's kind of the maestro of the rebellion behind the scenes, but nobody really knows that. Nobody really knows who the puppet master is behind the rebellion at this point. But ultimately, Luthen is going to have to move out of that role and hand it off to.
Well, no,
to
I
Mothma.
actually, I don't know if it was in this article or not, but it's kind of brought up like Luthen in season 2. It's a whole different thing. Tony describes it as like a CEO of an upstart. So for the past 15 years, he's kind of been the boss, everything in the secret. And then with that Albany mission, he kind of announced his business to the world. And now all these other cells are popping up and they're going to coalesce together. So Luthen is going to, his task is going to be even more difficult now, because now he's going to have to be really controlling the likes of a Saul Guerrera, who is literally ready to start war every single moment of every single day with the Empire. He'll have to be working with the Phoenix crew. He'll have to be working with his original crew. And you're going to see some personalities, I think, kind of pop up and give Lucen some shit, even on the good guy side. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of big personalities to get a rebellion, a galactic rebellion started. So any lead of any of these cells is probably going to be giving Luthen slightly more poo this time around, because he can't necessarily be the boss of everyone now that the cat is out of the bag. Yeah.
So we will see how Luthen's story plays out. But obviously, like, there's no way he survives at the end of Andor season 2, right? Like, he has to either go underground or be killed, right?
Killed. I don't think there's no. Here's the deal, like, and we'll get into it with our wants and predictions once Andor is almost nigh, but Bix, Brasso, B2, Willman, Luthen, they all got to go. Like, if they're nowhere to be seen in Rogue One, they gots to be dead. The only one I could see is Cassian, like, sacrificing his love of Bix and, like, stashing her somewhere, but that's not who Bix is. She would want to come back and fight anyway. So I'm pretty sure all of the Ferrixites, or the Ferrixi from season 1 that survived and saw the Battle of Ferrix and Marva's Call, they're all going to get greased by the end of Andor season 2. There's just no way. No way.
Yeah. I think that none of them will make this journey alive, so we'll see.
Yeah, Bat bringing up the point, like I said, and this is where I think Luthen, he's getting what he wants, but what comes with it, I think, is going to be a big pain in his ass. And Saul is going to have a lot more play in Andor season 2 than he did in season 1. Because you remember in season 1, that Saul was the partisans. He wasn't a part of Luthen's shit. They knew about each other. But you remember, I mean, Luthen had to try to convince Saul to help out this other guy to go after the Imperials, even though he knew the Imperials knew, and he was essentially sacrificing a cell to keep everyone hidden and to kind of keep the movement going. So Luthen is willing to do anything, and that also means he's probably going to be willing to sacrifice himself, as well as a few other close assets. I mean, what's the first thing we saw Cassian do when we met him? Sacrificed an asset in Rogue One. Yeah. Literally, within 5 minutes of meeting a guy, he's fucking killing someone that was like, hey man, help me, I'm gonna get caught, here's your intel. Okay, boom, see ya. So he learns that coldness from somewhere. All right, Skyrim Clips coming in with the poundages again. We appreciate you. Hi, I have my Vader and Luke tattoo. It's great. I am jealous of you, Skyrim Clips. I can never come to a decision on what ink I want on my body. Therefore, at 44, I am still clean outside of the scars I tend to give myself every few years. Mm-hmm. You had no Vader and Luke on you, right, Nick? You're more symbols and stuff, right?
Yeah, no characters. I do have the Jedi and Sith symbols. I think that, like, I got my Jedi and Sith tattoos a long time ago, and my Sith tattoo is Sith Empire tattoo, so I think it may now be a Legends tattoo. But now I also do have the Death Star and a Star Destroyer on my forearm as well. So
that's saying I need an Ewok on my back. I would take it. Like, here's the thing. I can't think of designs that I want to commit my life to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to get Devin to just make you one. Just tell Devin what you want and let him art that shit up.
I have thought about one thing. It's like it would kind of be what's it called? They're not called New Age. What's it called? That it's like New School. Yeah, it would be a New School style. So that kind of loud, cartoony, almost chibi looking shit. Yeah. Of like my kid as Princess Leia and her Princess Leia white. From A New Hope. Maybe holding up a gun. I could maybe take that. All right, man, let's get moving on here. We've been kind of pissing around because I had some stupid shit popping off in real life. So real quickly, those of you going to Celebration Japan, enjoy Japan because it doesn't look like the show's going to be that important in terms of reveals, in terms of panels. I mean, they got the official site up right now, and I don't know if this missing bullet is something they're hiding or if it's just the intern fucked up the post. But this is what you're getting for panels at Celebration Japan. And Nick, I know you will be aghast at this because it is meek. Friday, Mando and Grogu. Saturday, fucking Andor, show that's coming out 2 days later. Saturday, Ahsoka. What the fuck is that? Ahsoka what? Yeah. Sunday, first look Star Wars Visions Volume 3. That's it!
Yeah, that's pretty
Dude,
light.
there's usually like at least, 10 to 12 mega panels?
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, these are the panels for reservation, so maybe there are more panels that are not available for reservation, but yeah, I mean, the fact that like the panels are all stuff that we already know about is pretty disappointing. I guess, you'll get potentially a new look at Mandalorian and Grogu. Yeah, the Andor one is interesting to me, unless they're going to announce that like there's going to be an Andor film, which I just don't see how that's even possible.
No, they'll probably show them the first 3 episodes. Like, oh wow, yeah. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, so like you'll hang out in there. Maybe you'll see the first episode or whatever. Ahsoka one, obviously, like I don't expect it to be a character study. I expect that to be more around like Ahsoka season 2 and what we can expect to see there. Now that we have, casting news around who's replaced Ray Stevenson and everything like that. And then it would be cool for First Look Star Wars Visions Volume 3 if they had some of the creators up there. Obviously, we know that Vision started off as a Japanese anime adaptation of, Star Wars stories. So if they had some returning creators from season 1 or season 2, it'd be cool to see them on stage and give their perspective on the work that they've done and the work that they're potentially doing. Yeah, but I mean, come on, man. Like, 3. I know the people in the chat, they're like, oh yeah, there might be more. I was like, no, I mean, in terms of the mega panels where you get the mega reveals, this is it. And there ain't a damn reveal in here. Okay? Yeah. I mean, like you said, unless that first empty bullet point is like, Taika Waititi is here or something like that. I don't see it
nothing like nothing on Sean's movie. I mean, it's just like, okay, all right. I mean, as Devin Doty said in the stream, he's like, yeah, I'm more interested in the tourism. That's why I'm going over there. And that's kind of what I would recommend at this point. You know what? This could be a good thing too, because if you're someone like me that gets anxious and FOMO on missing stuff, you don't have to worry now. Like, Nick, I honestly, outside of Mando and Grogu, if I were going, I don't think I would apply or enter the lottery for any of these. Yeah,
I mean, the Andor one is just going to, like, I can't sit there and watch Tony stroke himself for 2 hours. I just can't.
I think, like I said, I think he's doing that tomorrow for free on YouTube. So
yeah, so like it's like I can't listen to Tony Gilroy bloviate about how awesome he is at Star Wars for that long. It's just, I don't have it in me. And then, I mean, the Ahsoka panel could be interesting because you'll probably, like, the Ahsoka one, you'll get a lot of good Dave, I'll say. Like, Dave does drop a lot of awesome lore nuggets, and he really does have just this unending depth of knowledge about Star Wars, specifically around the characters that he helped to build. So I do think that that's going to be filled with good nuggets of Star Wars insight. But yeah, other than that, it doesn't seem that exciting, like the one in 2019 we went to is, like, I just remember I wasn't at the Tross one, but I remember I was covering it while you and Ryan were there, and like the energy in that panel was crazy. And so was the energy in the Mandalorian panel. I mean, the Mandalorian panel energy was wild, and it was just this fervor of like people being excited for what's to come. I'm interested to see how it will be for these panels, especially since 2 or 3 of them are for things that like we've either seen stuff already, like Volume 3 of Star Wars Visions, Ahsoka. We've already seen Season 1, Andor. We already know a lot of what's coming in Season 2, so. For those of you who are going out there, definitely give us a report on how the energy feels, because I feel like it may be interesting to see how people react to these things, given what we already know about them.
Nick, I think if anything, this just goes to show that there ain't much in the pipeline at Lucasfilm that they are confident enough in to start talking about, if at all. I mean, it's just dried up. And if you've ever been to a celebration, I don't care what you say. This is meek. This ain't celebration worthy. This is like a D23 stop off tour.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I guess that there's no other games that we know. Usually there's a game panel.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. I mean, everyone in the live stream is like, oh yeah, but we'll have the live stage. Okay, that's fun, but that's just people coming out and, people going, yay, it's Hayden, it's you, and yay. You're not learning anything. You're just sitting there watching people that you think are characters that aren't real. So I don't know. I mean, listen, I would love to go to Japan. I don't know if this celebration is worth it. I mean, I know it's too late. Everyone's already going. They've got everything's paid for, ready to rock, and you are going to have a great time. I'm just surprised with the fact that they're holding it in Japan with the the gravitas behind that. The first time it's ever been in Japan, I believe, or maybe the second time, the return, and it's like wah wah wah.
Yeah, and look, I mean. Here's something that's important too. I think that this celebration being in Japan is like a way for Lucasfilm to try to activate markets outside of the US.
Yeah.
Well,
China fucking hates Star Wars, and that's a huge China, profit loss right there.
Yeah, and China loves Marvel because Marvel has a lot of they play towards that audience a bit. And Star Wars doesn't really have that, and it's hard to play towards a Chinese audience when you're set in space. You can have characters of Asian descent and everything like that, but you can't necessarily hit directly at that market like you can with Marvel. And I think that this is a way. Star Wars Visions was the first kind of foray into bringing a Japanese crowd into the Star Wars family, and I think that this this celebration there may help as well. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, we won't be there,
Thank
but
God.
we celebrate those of you who will be. And
please enjoy it. Listen, we don't like to go out. I really don't like people. I don't like crowds. So I'm happy I'm not going. But now that I see this, I know I'm not missing a damn thing outside of maybe the same freaking sizzle reel they've shown of the Mando and Grogu for the past year. You know what I mean? So we'll see. And the Ahsoka panel, I don't know what they're going to reveal. We already know they're doing a season 2, and they're probably going to start shooting it that April. In fact, I'm pretty sure Natasha Liu Bordizzo said she couldn't even be at Celebration Japan because they would be shooting. So who knows? Maybe that was some bullshit.
Yeah,
but I don't think I think Nick made the best point. I think that the coolest thing you may get is Rory McCann coming out and trying to play his best Ray Stevens. At the panel. So, all right,
we'll see.
All right, it is time for the main segment, my friends. I know you people have been waiting for it. I might as well refresh it because we all know tech here. It'll probably be broken since it's been sitting stagnant. But we've got another round of hot takes. It's the return of the hot takes. We did some of these back in October. We are back now to do them in March. It's been many shows since our last one, and the AI overlords have graced us with a fantastic graphic. This is what we get when we say, give us a thumbnail for hot takes. So we love you, ChatGPT. All right, as I said, we've got 10 of our own, 4 from the fans. We'll go through these and kind of see how people react. And hopefully no one gets too upset and threatens us with a lawsuit or wishes Nick or myself to die. But you never know. I'm going to warn you right now. Trigger warning. There's stuff in there about TLJ. There's stuff in there about the prequels. There's stuff in there about the Acolyte. So watch out. If this is going to get you upset, you may want to change the channel. All right, Nick, here we go. Starting off with the first hot take we have for our new edition, our new round of takes. The Siege of Mandalore arc is better than the Umbara arc in the Clone Wars. Fight me.
I can't even fight you on that because I think that that's just objectively true. Yeah. I will say that the Umbara arc is more shocking, obviously. Yeah, but I think that the Siege of Mandalore arc in season 7 is just some of the best animated Star Wars that we have ever seen, period. So yeah, I mean, it's we're starting off with an agreement here, but I do think that there are probably people in the chat and people listening
I
out there
I
that
know
will
Bat
disagree.
right now. If Bat hears this or
Bat
sees this, he's going to get ready to fight.
He may never come back again.
I might have put this in there just to tweak some of the clone bros out there, but objectively, as Nick said, it's better. It just is. It's just better. It's better storytelling. You get the heavy hitters in there. We got some new canon. Hell, the fact that people have looped it into the Revenge of the Sith mega cut. I don't know if does everyone know that exists somewhere? It's like a 3.5, 4 hour cut where it loops in Siege of Mandalore shit and bits from other shows to really kind of give you the full picture of what was happening in ROTS. So yeah, I mean, listen, you had Ahsoka returning with the clones. The 332nd was formed for with the orange helmets. She takes on Maul. Maul reveals he knows that Anakin is bad. She doesn't care. She captures him. They get away. Her and Rex have to fight for their lives on that ship. Beautiful stuff. Then you get that great shot at the end with her and her cloak. All the helmets on the sticks.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Fast forward to Vader many years later, picking up her lightsaber and seeing the Morai up in the sky.
Yeah.
All right, next hot take. That one wasn't so juicy. Let's see if we can burn some tits with this one. Andor is a terrible title for the series. All right, this one comes from Nick, so I will challenge him on this. It's hard to, because I also agree. Yes, us nuts, we'll pick up on it. Cassian, Andor, but just to regular fans and probably to its own detriment in season 1. I don't think if you polled a normal person out on the street, hey, would you watch a show called Andor? And that's all you said, they would have any idea what you're talking about. They'd be like, what is that? Who is that? Is it a franchise? Is it, is it sci-fi? Is it fantasy? Is it fiction, nonfiction? So, I mean, outside of Star Wars fans, and I would kind of qualify that fan boys and girls, I'm kind of with you again, and I hate to do this in a hot take, but it doesn't resonate outside of the hardcore base. Is that what you were essentially saying? Like, this is dumb unless you're a fanboy or girl.
Exactly, and the thing about it is that Andor isn't even the main character of the movie that he's in. He's the second lead. Jyn Erso is the lead of that movie. Jyn Erso is the primary character that you're following along with the entire time.
Well, they're saying it's about Cassian Andor, so what the hell else should it be?
But it is not about. This show isn't even about Cassian Andor. It follows Cassian Andor as somebody asked, what would it be called? Bango said it good. Birth of the Rebellion.
Dawn of the Rebellion.
Rise of the Rebellion. Just Rebellion. Star Wars Rebellion.
Revenge of the Rebellion, because everyone likes revenge stuff.
Yeah, like anything
Star
with
Wars
Rebel
3.7
in the title.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything with Rebel in the title, because this show is about the rise and birth and maturation of the rebellion against the Empire, and it has very, very little to do with Cassian's last name that most people don't even know. Like you said, you can Rebel Dawn, just like
Wolverine.
Red Dawn, good film for sure. And hey, Rebel Dawn could work. Could get some of those old heads wrapped into it. But I just think that they shot themselves in the foot with this title, because I know people who have seen Rogue One and loved Rogue One, and I asked them like, "Oh, have you watched Andor?" And they're like, "What's Andor?
What's an Andor?"
And I was like, "Oh, do you remember that? Do you remember the Cassian, the guy character from Rogue One? His last name is Andor."
Honestly, Nick, you nailed it right there. It should just be called the guy character from Rogue One, season 1.
Yeah, more people would know what it means. Like, more people would know. Oh, it's like that's the guy who died on the beach.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, you are right. This shouldn't even be a hot take. This should just be a take and take. Like, Tony, come on, bro.
Like, I don't know if Tony named this show Andor, but if he did, God, like he couldn't have done a worse job. He should have just used Cassian's middle name.
Hear me out, because I think we're on the same brainwave right here. It would essentially be like renaming episodes 4, 5, and 6 to like R2D2 and C3PO season 1, season 2, and season 3, since they're the ones that we experience the story through, just like Cassian is the delivery of the story in Andor, right? So yeah, we'll just rebrand it R2D2 and C3PO episode 4, R2D2 and C3PO episode 5, and then obviously episode 6.
I mean, what this really is how George Lucas initially named Star Wars. It was like Star Wars, a journey of the Force as told by the Journal of the Wills or something like that.
Mouthful.
So he was essentially telling you who you're viewing the story through. And that's what this title does. It's like you're viewing the story of the rise of the rebellion through the eyes of Cassian Andor. But in certain instances, in long stretches of episodes, you're not even seeing it through his eyes. Like, you're experiencing the rise of the rebellion through multiple people that are involved with it. So calling it Andor is just a terrible way to get across what this show is really about.
Right. And League really makes a point here, Nick. She's like, hey, if someone watched R1, you would know who Andor is. Yes.
That is not true.
Yeah, that requires them that they've already seen Andor before they went into Rogue One. So what we're saying here, if you want to expand your audience, you got to dumb the shit down a little bit.
Yeah, but that's the thing too, is that like, how often do they say Cassian's last name?
Star Wars: The Rise of the Rebellion as told through multiple people involved. Episode 1, Chapter 2. Love it.
Perfect. Yes. but that's the thing. Is like, even in Rogue One, they don't say Cassian's last name that much. They say it 3 times, maybe. So like, you really have to be locked in to Rogue One to know what his last name is.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what his last name is after what most people did, which was watch Rogue One once, then when they put the show out that's just called Andor, you have no reference to what that means. Mm-hmm. Even if they would have called it Cassian, it may have been better.
Yeah, that's the other, like, they barely even call him Andor in Rogue One. It's just Cassian.
They call him Cassian through most of it. And like, they may say his last name a couple times. So if you didn't read the credits, or if you were like looking at your phone when they said Andor and didn't fully catch it, you have no reference point to what the show is about.
The guy with a space accent, season 1.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that one definitely, Nick. You definitely ruffled some feathers in the chat. I think some people quit.
My gears.
Some people rescinded their memberships from that one. So we're going to move on to the next. Speaking of memberships, if you like the dumb shit we're talking about right now, don't forget to check out that button down below. We go as low as $1.99 a month. All right, next one here. This one's going to get people worked up. Probably not in this chat, but if this becomes a clip on the internet, because we've been getting teed off on some of our shorts going out there recently. But the Acolyte should not have been canceled after 1 season. Come on.
I mean, look, I think that this holds true for every live action TV show, unless you specifically call it a limited series. It should have minimum 2 seasons. Like, you should be able, like, these creators should have the space to tell their story for 2 seasons to give them enough time to bring things to a good point. I mean, just imagine if you had only seen season 1 of Parks and Rec. If you've ever seen that show, I literally had to drag Taylor through Parks and Rec season 1, kicking and screaming. And by the time season 2 came around, fucking great. It was like season 2 on, awesome. Same thing with The Expanse. The Expanse turned into one of our favorite sci-fi television shows ever made.
How many networks did it end up getting passed to finish itself?
Yeah, I mean, it was Sci-Fi, and then Amazon
saved it, right? And took it up through what, season 5 or 6?
Six, yes, through season 6. And season 1 of The Expanse is like watching paint dry sometimes. It's so slow, and if it would have only gotten 1 season, that show would not have gotten the justice that it deserved. Like, it, and like, the same for this show. It's like, yeah, this show ended with a lot of open questions. But if you would have 2 seasons, you would have plenty enough time to bring some of these threads to a close and have a fully cohesive story told through, like, in an era of Star Wars that we really wanted to expand.
And remember, this was the second most watched show on Disney Plus last year, behind Percy Jackson. Like
and
2.7 billion minutes or something.
Yeah. And like Percy Jackson is a show that has so much, like there was a Percy Jackson movie. There's been multiple Percy Jackson novels. There was a fan base behind Percy Jackson long before the shows and movies came out. And The Acolyte had nothing. Yeah, you had the general Star Wars base behind it, but like there was no like huge fan base behind The Acolyte as a show.
This one's more of a bummer than a hot take. It really is. Like I know all you people out there that hate The Acolyte and want us to die. That's fine. We're never going to change your minds, and I could care less. But there's just there's a lot of meat left on this bone. You know what I mean? I mean, poor Kamir, never going to see Manny again. DP back there in the cave creeping out. Never going to figure out what's going on there. What was the deal between Kamir and Vernestra? Oh, who cares? It doesn't matter anymore. Oh, well, there we go. Moving right along. Yeah, like I said, I mean, our audience is usually typically on the up and up. They're not the ones that get upset about the things that get some of the Star Wars fandom worked up. All right, this is another one from young Nick himself here. So I will rebut after I read it. But Star Wars live-action TV shows should stop once the movies return. Here's the first one I will challenge him on. And it's not because I think Nick is a doofus for saying this. It's because really since the end of the sequel trilogy, we can't trust a fucking word Lucasfilm says about the movies in particular. So even when the movies do return in 2026 with Mando and Grogu, we can't expect that we're now going to get a movie a year to kind of, feed our Star Wars brains. So I would still like the TV universe to persist, just because I cannot trust Lucasfilm to actually commit to a movie roadmap since they finished the sequel trilogy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I agree with that. I definitely think that like not having a solidified roadmap definitely makes this a little bit harder, especially for the hardcore fans like us.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to years of nothing. And then you and I might go nuts, or I'll definitely go insane.
Here's what I'll say. I say live action, so I'm definitely open to there being a good animated series running through the film timeline. But the reason I say no live action is because I think that live action, one, diverts a lot of spending that you could use on furthering your movie development for Star Wars. These live action TV shows cost more than films to make. And if you have a budget that is all encompassing between Star Wars media, whether it be movies and TV shows, then you have a lot of budget that you're diverting towards live action TV. I also think that if you were to do one long multi-season animated series similar to the Clone Wars, you're giving people the content that they want, but you're also, it's very clear what your tentpole is. Like your tentpole are these films, whether it be a year or two between releases, between film releases, as long as you have this long running animated series there, you still have content and people still understand like, hey, this is good to have, this is nice to have, it fills in content gaps and it gives us new story to dive into when there's no movies. But we know that the tent pole is the silver screen film releases, and I think that is what would get the casuals up again, because I think that live action TV for a while is what they thought were going to get casual fans like looped in. And it just doesn't anymore. Like the live action TV series have been on the decline since Mandalorian season 2. Unquestionable. Every season of live action Star Wars TV has declined, regardless of what the show was, year over year. We know that the interest in them was waning, and we know that after the conclusion of the Mandalorian, series of storytelling, that there really isn't another cohesive show out there.
Nick, do you think Andor season 2 could be the first show to go up from the original season?
I mean, I would hope, but I mean, like, the thing is like that show didn't have a ton of viewership to start with. And I think that that's why I said what I said when you were like, they put out this recap on YouTube. They've released.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like
seasons.
you can tell is it driven by fear, I guess? Like, we're
100%.
Skeleton Crew kind of tanked viewership wise. Andor wasn't that big of a winner, but this is our big baby for 2025. It's really all we have outside of Visions Volume 3.
Yeah,
but
I mean, they need this to.
But then they did the 1 month rollout, and it's gone. Like, what does that say? Because I don't know if I heard you reading some of that article. I might have skimmed by the first part, but he more or less says like it wasn't his choice to do the 3-episode block release schedule.
And here's what I'll say to that. I think that maybe Disney's thought behind this is if you get it all out in a shorter period of time, you have less attrition. So you have less fall off between episodes, because ultimately that's always what happens is like,
you put
out one episode.
Because what were a lot of people bitching about with Skeleton Crew? I just give me the next episode. Just give me the next episode. I don't want to wait a week. So, okay. Well, I guess maybe this is a new experiment possibly.
Yeah, it's a test to see if this works, because if you give people 3 episodes up front and they're like, oh wow, like I got so much there, and then like, you got to wait a week, but you got an hour and a half.
Yeah, you got a movie that just covered a year of the timeline.
Yeah, so I don't like Bango's idea. Use TV shows to tell more main trilogy stories. Well, I don't know what main trilogy is. I mean, if you're talking OT, I think they need to put OT stories to rest.
Yeah, we call that the Skywalker saga, I think is what that's known as there. So, all right, well, here we go. Now, last thing before we move on, would you be able to exist in a world, Nick, where you get a movie, say in the old school May release or this new school December release, but you also had one show, one animation. So every year, one animation, one live action, one film. Is that too much?
I think that it's still too much. I think that it should be one show and one movie per year. And even doing one movie per year, I think is like, I know that like we like to think in our heads that Star Wars has the Marvel juice that they can put out a film a year and people will still go see it. It just doesn't.
Well, like Marvel, they don't care anymore. No one goes, and they still put multiple out a year. So it's just like, fuck it.
So like, I really don't think that the state that the fandom is in and how willing people are to just shit all over anything that comes out, regardless of quality, that like putting out a film a year is a good idea. I think that you should minimum have 2 years between film releases. I think that if you're gonna have a film a year, then they should not be sequential. So it shouldn't be films that are in a trilogy together. You can put out one if you're going to do like a film in 28, 29, and 30.
That's exactly was the original roadmap. It was trilogy film, Star Wars story, trilogy film, Star Wars story. Oh, fuck, TLJ happened. Fuck Solo. Fuck Star Wars stories. We quit. Fuck it all. We're done.
Yeah.
End of the Skywalker saga. Rise of Skywalkers. Ray Skywalker. Woohoo. We'll never do Skywalkers again until Mandalorian Season 2. Then we'll bring them in. Yeah. Then we'll bring them in again in the Book of Boba Fett. It's like...
I think that the big problem with Star Wars now is like you don't have time to anticipate anything. There's too much of it out there to be like to truly anticipate anything.
All right.
Like, oh yeah, like there's a new show coming out, but there's also a new show coming out later this year. And there's like prior to this year, it was like we're getting 3 Star Wars shows a year. And it's like it's fucking great for people who really, really like it, which is a shrinking number of people.
That is true, man. That is true. You are right. Yeah. We do kind of put ourselves in an echo chamber.
Yeah, and it's like I think that what fans like us have to realize is that like overexposure to content only leads to fatigue for most people. And like that is what kills the franchise is overexposure. And Star Wars has been in overexposure land for a while. Like for a long time. And that's why we see viewership numbers going down. That's why Star Wars creators see interaction numbers going down and everything like that is because people are fatigued of it. And as much as we would like to see like I want 3 new Star Wars things a year, it's probably more healthy to have like 1 new Star Wars thing a year, if that.
God, That'd be nice. I wish I could just quit doing all this shit and just be a fan that watches stuff. But now you guys got me hooked to it's like podcasting, live streaming heroin. You motherfuckers. All right, let's move on. We're pissing time away on this one. It was a good one, though. Got people talking. It got them chatting. We'll see what they say about this one. Darth Vader is overrated as a villain. Eat me.
I mean, this one is not hard for me to argue, right? I'm not gonna have difficulty arguing this.
Why is this potentially true, Nick? I want to see if you have the right answer.
Why is it potentially true is because the fact that, Darth Vader is a character that was built and bred by Palpatine to literally become his successor and to lead the evil side of the galaxy into a long-standing reign that never happened. And ultimately, Darth Vader, through his entire run, was a fucking failure from day one.
What is he, though? What is he truly to Palpatine, though? He's not really his equal. What is he, though?
No, he's a toy.
Yeah, he's the errand boy, right? He's the errand boy. Yeah. Go do this. Go do that. Go do this. Go do that. He's not thinking of anything on his own. He's not scheming anything on his own. If it weren't for Vader's redemption arc, he's kind of just, again, a yes sir type of guy.
Yeah, he is a picture
Matt
of
hit his head harder than we thought.
Darth Vader is a picture of weakness and failure. Like, straight up.
Yeah, I think people get locked up on villain. Yeah, he's a movie villain, yes, super iconic. But if you actually think about the character and villainous stuff, he's a bitch boy. He's not the main villain. Palpatine is. Vader's just a vessel for Palpatine to direct towards things and wreck them.
Yeah, he's a rabid dog, but he's a rabid dog who is often bad at doing things that rabid dogs are good at, which is fixing, getting rid of problems or killing people. He couldn't
his main challenge of the trilogy, outside of the first movie, because George didn't know he was going to get 2 more, was to convince Luke or kill Luke, and he failed at both.
Couldn't do either.
He failed at both. Luke flipped the tables and is like, no, I'm going to convince you to do the right thing. And Luke succeeds.
Yeah. I mean, from the moment he takes the Darth Vader mantle, he does nothing but fail. He goes to fight Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kill your master. You are literally the chosen one. Your M count is through the roof.
Right.
You are as powerful as any Force user has ever been. And you can't even take out a middle-aged Jedi Master who's middle of the wrong Jedi Master too. There are Jedi Masters who are better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. You can't take out that guy.
You just said some fight. You just dropped the hot take right there. If anyone heard that, you hear this? Young Nick said Obi-Wan Kenobi is middle tier at best.
I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't even get one of the big chairs on the council seats. He got one of the regular sized chairs.
Yeah, he had to take Yaddle's chair over.
Yeah, he's not even sitting in the high back chair, and he can't take out that guy.
Yeah, listen. I know Bat's an old guy like me. I get what you're saying, Bat, but if you think of just from the term villain, he's more of a movie monster if you think about it. Okay, he doesn't really think much for himself. He doesn't really have many plans for himself. He's just a yes man type of motherfucker. And he does a lot of bad shit. I just think as villain definition, I don't know, maybe a bit overrated. All right.
Bit overrated.
All right, that was a fun one. I like that. Maybe Matt banged his head hard. He thought that was a good one there. All right, this one coming from young Nick here. This is going to get people worked up. Rian Johnson's trilogy, the one that was supposed to be set way after the sequels, would have been the perfect direction to take Star Wars into the future. Yeah, I mean, because I like people on the internet telling me that I'm old, stupid, and don't understand Star Wars, and I'm a shill. This is another one that's really not going to get me that upset. I think Rian Johnson is one of our better creators out there. I mean, if you look what the guy has done with Knives Out and now into this other series he's got going on Hulu or something. I mean, he's becoming quite the prolific entertainer in terms of writing and directing and bringing shit to people that they enjoy. So I would not have been opposed to seeing Ryan get another crack at this and see what he did. And remember, it wouldn't involve Luke, so you don't have to worry about him kind of putting Luke through that lens that upset a bunch of people. So
yeah,
I know. I mean, it's not that hot to me, Nick, but I get it. Rian Johnson, kind of like Leslie Headland, you say their name in front of the wrong Star Wars fan, and they're going to start shooting laser beams out of their eyes into your face.
Yeah. And here's the thing about Rian's trilogy. It is what Star Wars needs, because it is everything that is disconnected from current Star Wars. And that's what Star Wars needs, because the toxicity and the fan base and all of the hatred
crew,
that is,
right?
Yeah, but like even Skeleton Crew functions in a galaxy. It's like Skeleton Crew was the closest that we've gotten, but Skeleton Crew still functioned in the Star Wars galaxy.
True.
And if I'm not mistaken, Rian's trilogy would have been outside of the known Star Wars galaxy, but is telling a Star Wars story with a completely new setting, completely new people, completely new everything.
It's been so long since they've said anything about this. I mean, I'm talking like, when did TLJ come out? 17?
It's 2017.
Yeah, I'd say we're close to 7 years of not hearing anything about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's
so I am foggy, but it was.
Happening.
I agree. I don't think it was going to be. Yeah, it's just a continuation of Rey and them. I'm not sure if it was going to a different galaxy or unknown regions of the galaxy, but it was supposed to be kind of like a new experiment.
Yeah, it was disconnected from the Star Wars galaxy, and I think that is what would reinvigorate a fan base more than anything, is to say, like, this is Star Wars with people you've never heard of, places that you've never seen, stories that you've never witnessed or experienced before. And this has nothing to do with TLJ. Like people saying like TLJ, it has nothing to do with TLJ. Regardless of your thoughts on it, here's what I'll say about TLJ. Agnostic of the story, the characters, anything else. It was a very well-made movie. Like that was probably one of the better shot Star Wars films ever made. And the technical filmmaking behind it was masterful. And that's what Rian's really good at. And I think that if you were to take his ability to make a good film and tell a good story and not have the baggage that comes along with telling a story in the Star Wars galaxy that we're in now, he would have flourished. Like people are dying for Star Wars stories that don't have anything to do with
he just needs like a ghostwriter, right? Or a pen name or something. Just
have it be under somebody else.
No press. Yeah. Just be like, I'll do it. I'll represent him. I'll be like, I'm the guy that did it. Okay, I wrote it. I shot it. If you want to fight me, fight me. Let's go. I like to headbutt people. Clearly.
Yeah, but like that's saying here, Ahsoka season 3 written and directed. No, not even Ahsoka season 3. Characters you have never heard of. Places you have
it
never
could even
seen,
be a different
galaxy.
Interpretation on the Force. I mean, we could go hang out with the Chiss or the Yuzan Vong, or like Nick's saying, none of even that shit.
Yeah,
it could be like the Oogly Booglies.
Yeah, like a fully clean slate for Star Wars storytelling, fully clean, not connected to anybody, and you really give these characters or like these writers and these creators the ability to craft a Star Wars story that is unique and doesn't have to rely on storytelling that's been around since 1977.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we're gonna see the light of day. Bat's like, didn't they say they were still planned? That's the one thing she did not say was still planned when she recapped everything. I forgot to cover the Taika thing because of my life event. But she said, yeah, Taika's still working. He's just too damn busy. I've read one bit of the script and I like it. They're working with a new writer. But Rian's, it's been crickets for like ever since. Because you remember, they announced this before TLJ released to the public. Like that's how gung-ho they were about TLJ and Rian Johnson. Kathleen's like, fuck it. We've seen this movie. The press has seen it. Critics have seen it. Loving it, TLJ, the new empire. I mean, that was the buzz around TLJ before it hit public. Then the public got wind of it and was like, light this bitch on fire. Crickets since then. Crickets.
Yeah. Won't happen. Ryan's very busy with his own stuff. And like, hey, you can see what a creative person like Ryan can make when he doesn't have
constraints.
I got constraints or restrictive story binds on.
We'll definitely get some good shorts from this one. Some quality comments are in our future. I can tell. All right, let's keep it going. We're sticking in that Rian Johnson universe. Luke Skywalker's TLJ arc was actually perfect. So I'll give you my reason for saying this after I listen to Nick, unless you want me to add more insight to it.
Go ahead and give it some color first, because I want to see what I'm working with.
So here we go. If you really think about Luke from start to finish, from farm boy to the man in black at the end of ROTJ, was he ever portrayed as the unstoppable hero? Or was he always portrayed as someone that needed to learn from failure? So that's where I'm going with. His character was never about being the unstoppable hero, Nick. But it's always a character that learned from failure.
Yeah. And look, I'll play devil's advocate. I'll play on your side of this just to give even more fuel to the fire.
Someone get mad at Doctor. He's concussed.
Because everybody knows my opinion on Luke Skywalker and TLJ. Not a fan, but I will play a person who does agree with this, and I will say that what really is happening in TLJ with Luke Skywalker's arc is he already saw what happened when his friends were in trouble and he rushed to their aid to try to help them. What happened?
Yeah, he tried to be unstoppable hero.
He lost his hand. He got his best friend captured. Han Solo's in carbonite. He finds out the hard truth that that his father is Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, and now he has a robot hand. It could not have gone worse. So ultimately, what Luke is doing in his TLJ arc is he's like, look, I've been here before when the chips were down, and I thought that I could rush to the defense of the people that I love the most. What happened? I almost got everybody killed, including myself.
Right.
So in his mind, he's like, fuck it. The galaxy is falling apart at the hands of my former apprentice and my nephew. Well, they're just going to have to play this one out without me, because all I'm going to do is run in there and fuck shit up again like I did in Bespin. And it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, keep remembering how TLJ plays out. After he fails with Rey, what happens? He goes to burn the tree, and Yoda shows up. He's like, hey, dumbass. What are you doing? Like, you're still Luke. Yeah. You're still that version of Luke. You shouldn't be like that. Come on. We got to grow from the ones we create, or whatever the fuck he said. But Luke even learns from his failure in TLJ, and that's why he offs himself by max forcing.
Yeah,
right?
He maxed out the force.
So he even learned from a failure there, because he did fail. He did fail with Rey.
Ultimately, he died failing. He couldn't handle
that much force. There you go. That got me there. We are what they grow beyond.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, his death was a failure. He thought that he could just force himself all the way there. He did it so hard that he fucking croaked out.
Yeah. And the thing is, Luke has never seen himself as this legend Jedi God. Never. Even in the Mando. I know Bat's saying we got peak Luke and Mando, and I agree, but he showed up on a beacon call. It wasn't like he's going around like, I'm a fucking hero, I'm going to save the day everywhere. He heard some crazy Tython force call out there and was like, oh, I better go check this shit out. And then he had to man up against some droids. Big deal. Like that's no, but that was never Luke. Like, Luke was never, let me go, I'll take care of this. Even in Return of the Jedi, he leaves his fucking friends on the Battle of Andor to go talk to his dad. Like, that's not being an unstoppable hero. So listen, we're doing hot takes. I didn't love Luke and TLJ either. I did understand like why he's doing what he did, because both his masters did the same fucking thing when they failed the galaxy. What I will say, and why this is a hot take, there's a few little segments in there, like when he's on his little green tit journey and fishing journey, and he's just being a jerk to Rey and Chewie. Luke would not be a dick, all right? He would not be a dick, but he would definitely do what he did in TLJ by taking himself off the map.
Yeah. All right, what you got next?
All right. I know we're scooting up against the clock here. This is a classic. So if you're new to the Star Wars Time Show, let me introduce you to our friend Bozo Fett. Boba Fett wasn't cool until The Mandalorian season 2. All right? He was known as Bozo the Fett until we saw what they did in Mando S2. Until we saw him reclaim his armor on Tython from Mando. Beat the shit out of some stormtroopers. Then, because he's a good dude, teams up with Mando to help him go get or protect Grogu or get Grogu from Gideon. Does some cool shit in the Slave One. And then, of course, we get even more radical Boba Fett, or not Bozo Fett, in his own series. So, yeah. Boba Fett on screen was a douche until The Mandalorian season 2.
He was a complete buffoon. Like, this guy had a bounty handed to him by Darth Vader on Bespin. He didn't do shit. Like, he just showed up there. He let Han just like get captured himself, and Darth Vader do all the work. Yeah. And then he just shepherds this guy off to
he's like an Uber driver for Han's carbonated casing. That's it.
Yeah, like complete and utter taxi driver for Han's frozen corpse. And then when he gets it, the first time he gets into a real fight, he just gets embarrassed, like straight up embarrassed by a blind guy. And then falls into a hole for 30 years, or for however long he was at the pit.
Just like a minute these days now. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, who really knows?
Who knows how long that really was? 5 years.
Timelines get a little loosey goosey thanks to Favreau's Mandoverse. That's for sure.
but he literally like he like rocks up to a guy who literally can't see.
Boba Fett. Where?
Grab him.
Blank. Whee! Oh, do.
And then he doesn't even get that. Like, he's like chatting up all these girls in Boba's in Jabba's palace. Doesn't get one of them. Before he can even get down, he gets fucking axed by blind people. Like, it's just embarrassing.
He is a tool. I don't care what you've read. I've read the comics. Yes, he is way cooler in the comics, but hey, that ain't live action. That's not moving images. So he is a bum in the original trilogy. Might look cool as hell, but that's the only reason people thought Boba Fett was worth anything before the books, before the comics, is just because he looked cool. That's it.
Yeah. Only guy with a jetpack in the original trilogy. I'll say that. That's his
helmet was kind of not as cool as Vader, but not kind of as like dopey and basic and replicated as a stormtrooper. He just stood the fuck out. You're like, damn, that guy looks sweet. And he used to talk really cool too, until, they dubbed in our boy Tem's voice, which, we love Tem, but, let's get Jeremy back in there, or whoever his voice was. All right, so yeah, Bozo Fett returns. It's been a while. Bozo Fett, here's like a show history nugget. He's honestly one of the main reasons we lost a large part of our COVID audience. Yeah. I chased away, I know for sure, at least 10 dedicated listeners. Those were the good old days when if you would fire me up enough, I would sit here and dress people down individually if they were in the chat, and some people didn't like that. So I remember even our boy Tones had to talk off a ledge. He's like, "Oh man, I don't know, guys. I don't know if I can take this anymore." It's like, calm down, dude. I'm doing a fucking show for back then, like 4 hours straight. Like, come on. You kind of lose your mind sometimes just talking about this nonsense. But yeah, the Bozo Fett era is a classic if you lived through it, 100%. All right, here's one that's going to tweak some people. The Jedi were the real villains of the prequels, Nick. And why do I say this? Well, thanks to their hubris, their dogmatic ways, their blindness to the Sith, they're just as culpable for the rise of the dark side as Palpatine himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like, you couldn't be more close to the literal embodiment of the dark side and not notice it. Like, they're in the same room as this motherfucker for most of the time. Like, you're in the same building as Palpatine, as Darth Sidious, as this dark side master that, like, people kind of feel like they're like, oh, there's like a shroud of darkness around there, but who knows where it could be. not in the same room as me. This guy was just in the bathroom with you in the urinal right next to you. And you didn't even know that he's fucking the Dark Lord of the Sith that's been around for that long. Nobody could tell that the dude immediately took over the Senate, becomes chancellor, and then everything goes to shit. Did nobody notice that on the Jedi Council?
I mean, that's why they're even more of the villains. You remember Dooku, thanks to Tales of the Jedi, I mean, years and years before any of this shit was about to happen, she was still just a fucking senator. He's like, hey, Yoda, I'm seeing shit that's not good. There's stuff in the Senate that's not good. Like we're kind of being used for not good shit. We're being sent to this settlement to essentially kill people because the regional governor doesn't like them. Like, hello, and Yoda's like, no, we don't listen to visions. Visions on the dark side. Ugh. And Dooku's like, all right, I'll put up with it a few more years. And then he's like, screw you guys. You guys are literally shooting yourselves in the foot. The Sith are here. I know they are. I'm talking to one, for Christ's sake.
Of all the sensing that Jedi can do, like, oh, I sense this presence, or I sense this presence, all of that shit, they couldn't be like, man, the dark side presence in the Senate chambers, specifically coming from the middle area, seems very weird.
Okay, we'll give them that. That's a big Senate chamber. Nick, they were in the goddamn chancellor's office sitting across the table from him.
Like, just unbelievably blind.
So like, yes, they are. I mean, yeah, they are villainous due to their hubris, their arrogance, their the dogma that they would not leave. You know, it's like, oh no, I mean, Yoda is dogma. All right, Yoda equals Jedi dogma. He is the Jedi dogma. He's the one that fucking brought them all down and allowed the dark side to rise and become more powerful than them with just 2 people.
Yeah. 2 people. Insane.
So,
all right.
They are definitely just as culpable for the downfall of the galaxy as Lord Palpatine himself.
Indeed.
Okay, I think we got one more before the fans. Andor proves that Star Wars doesn't need the Force to be great.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't even think that this is a hot take. I think that this is just true. Like this.
Well, Nick,
this
I will disclose it. Our AI office worker came up with this one. So
okay.
I'm sorry.
So AI, good job stating the clear here. But yeah, I mean, Andor proves that Star Wars doesn't need Force to be great. I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, it you know, don't look at viewership numbers for that because that won't tell the story.
So this is a hot take, Nick, because this is like down in the tanks with Skeleton Crew, and it had some Force juice.
Yeah, so like, you know, don't look at viewership numbers. If you look at a quality score, if they ever gave quality score to Star Wars TV shows, which they never will, because nobody would ever agree on a quality score, I would say that the quality score of Andor would be relatively high. And look, I think that what Andor does well is it gives you the ground view. You know, you really like, even in, you know, Attack of the Clones, even in, you know, Revenge of the Sith, even through Clone Wars, like, you know, you get ground view, but most of the time you're kind of looking at the galaxy from a top-down view of like how things are perceived by the Jedi or how things are perceived by those people that are in power and trying to hold on to power. And it was really for the first time that you got to see ground view in certain snippets of Clone Wars. And then obviously in Rebels, and then Andor does that first. That to really, Andor's the first one to really remove the Force users from it and
completely.
Really show you that
yeah, I mean, Andor had 0. It's like that part of Star Wars didn't even exist in Andor, so it is kind of different from everything we mentioned. I mean, let's be real. Clone Wars was loaded with the Force. I mean, we had general Jedis jerking around all over the place. So, but you know, Andor's got all sorts of stuff going for it, and we'll see if it can keep it up in season 2. Because instead of, like Nick said, coming from the big players, we are now at the grassroots movement and seeing how that machine, how those cells turned into the Rebel Alliance and their kick-ass insignia that blew up the Death Star, thanks to Cassian and Jyn. All right, it's time for some fan takes, and then we'll move into the fan segment for the week and put this show to bed. So real quick from the fans here, Anakin would have killed Palpatine if Obi-Wan was there and Mace Windu was on Utapau. What do you think about that?
I guess
so
my
if
question...
Mace Windu went to go kill Grievous and Obi stayed on Coruscant with Anakin, that means Anakin would have came back and told Obi-Wan, like, yo, dude, this shit's fucked. You know, Mace was like, screw you, Skywalker, thanks, but I don't trust you. You stay here. Do you think Obi-Wan would have probably taken Anakin to confront Palpatine?
100%, because Obi-Wan and Anakin were like attached at the fucking hip up until Obi-Wan got dispatched to Utapau on his own. Like these motherfuckers were just tied together. So 100 and like,
would Anakin have killed him or still be like, no, Obi, we gotta put him on trial?
I think that I don't
think Obi-Wan would have let him. I think Obi-Wan would have done something similar to Mace.
I think that Obi would have got fucking knocked out like he did in the fight versus Dooku.
More scaffolding all jankily coming down on him, like, ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, ah.
But even if that was to happen, though, I don't think that Anakin was mentally strong enough to kill him on his own.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have done it. Like, he would have been too easily manipulated by Palpatine to do it.
I think if Palpatine would have stabbed Obi-Wan and possibly killed him, that might have been enough to... But you're right. I mean, it is Palpatine. He was just kind of sitting there having like a Sunday stroll with these people, trying to enact his end game.
Ultimately, the only way that I see this playing out is that if and he would never have done it because Anakin was his aim the whole time. If Palp killed Anakin, Obi-Wan would have killed Palpatine. 100%.
What if Palpatine killed Padme in front of Anakin? Would that have been enough to enrage him to the point?
That would have done it. That would have done it. This should say Anakin would have killed Palpatine if Padme was there and Mace Windu was not.
All right.
If Padme was there and then she gets a taste of the lightning, then Anakin is going full bore at this dude and cutting his head off.
All right, so the good one there from the fans. Here's another one. Lucasfilm, I combined this because it was all about R-rated, so let me try to get through here. Okay. Lucasfilm should have let James Mangold do his R-rated Boba Fett movie and then let Guillermo del Toro do his Jabba movie. Essentially, R-rated options to re-engage adult audiences.
I think that is the complete opposite of what Star Wars should have done, because here's the thing right now. The only engaged audience in Star Wars is the adult audience. And that's why the toxic, like the fan base is where it is. Like the only reason, the only thing that is keeping Star Wars alive right now is the adult audience. And that's the problem. Star Wars needs a younger fan base to survive, period. George Lucas realized that, whether he did it on purpose or he didn't do it on purpose. He made a cartoon show and put it on Cartoon Network that is only watched by children. And that is why Star Wars has survived in the public consciousness as long as it has.
Yeah, it's that prequel generation. Well, they've aged out at this point. I mean, the prequel generation are in their 30s, right?
Yeah, like the prequel generation are the adults now, and they are engaged. Like engagement from adults is not what you need. Yeah. You need to bring children in, because that is what will take your franchise further.
Either way,
so whoever said this one, you are wrong.
Because I am slightly demented and do enjoy violence in my movies, I would like to see an R-rated Star Wars for sure.
I mean, I would love to see it. I would love to see an R-rated Star Wars film. But the thing about like re-engaging adult audiences is a complete miss.
You are correct. Like, all right. I think we got two more here. The Acolyte was planned poorly. I think the Jedi should have been portrayed more as heroes and not corrupted by anything.
So portray the Jedi as they've always been portrayed forever, as the good guys who just get fucked over by the bad guys. Like, just do.
You know what? This sounds like it came from your buddy Phil.
Because
I did keep some from October, so this might be from him.
But here's the thing: is like if you continuously if you keep telling the same story over and over and over and over and over and over again, people get fucking tired of it. Like, And if you tell another story about like, hey, guess what, guys? The Jedi are the good guys, and the bad guys are the bad guys. It's like, yeah, we've heard that for the past 40 years.
And we know the Jedi are corrupt. Like it's well established, even in the prequel timeline. I mean, how one of their formers becomes Palpatine's second. Two of their formers becomes Palpatine's second. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like the Jedi, like
they're people too. I think a lot of people think the Jedi are like Marvel superheroes. They're people that were stolen from their families, so they're not well developed. Like I think that's what the Acolyte was trying to tell you. When you take kids and lie to them and train them, it could fuck them up.
Yeah, it's like you literally you're stealing babies.
Well,
and
they do
training
ask,
them
right? They do ask.
Yeah,
put them through a test.
They don't steal them. Fine. Like they are taking children, infants from households. These kids never know their parents. They never know their history, their upbringing, anything about themselves as a person, as an individual, and they are indoctrinated into a way of thinking that is exclusive to this group. So if they hear anything that is obtuse to what the
sounds
Jedi
like
believe,
a cult,
it is,
man.
Yeah, it is immediately bad, which is never a good thing. Having a closed-minded approach to other ideas is never good. And we've seen the Jedi.
He's not talking about real life. We don't talk about politics on the show anymore.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah,
gotta clarify that sometime.
I disagree with this because we've seen the Jedi as heroes forever.
Yeah, and they're bad heroes, so that usually means there's something not right in the order. Hence,
it's like if you're
corruption.
constantly like if you're always heroic, but then somehow you always fucking fail at everything, maybe something's
poor
wrong.
Definition of a hero. All right, here's a banger to end one on. It's pretty definitive here. Leia and Han were bad parents.
This is 100% true.
Hell yeah, they were.
This is 100% true. I'm pretty sure, I haven't watched TFA in a bit, but I'm pretty sure that it was implied that Han had a drinking problem at a certain point in their relationship, and that's why he abandoned. Yeah,
he left. He couldn't live the family lifestyle anymore. He had to get out there and do some scoundreling with his hairy buddy. Yeah. So he pieced out. Leia was all tied up in the New Republic, then the Resistance, to the point where her son went off the rails, so much so that she's like, I quit, Uncle Luke, your turn.
She literally just foisted this kid onto his uncle and is like, you fucking deal
Luke,
with him.
There's some weird shit going on in this boy's head. I can't really tell why, but since you're the one that spent more time with the Force, maybe you can correct this dude that has some very dark, disturbing dreams he's been telling me about.
Exactly. So like his own mother's perspective is, man, this kid's fucked up. I definitely shouldn't be the one to try to fix it.
It's like, I've tried my hardest. Got to go see Uncle Lukey.
I got other shit to do. Like, I love Leia. I love Han. Terrible parents. No. The worst parents.
Yeah. Were they this bad in Legends books? Like, where was Han basically just gone? Like an absent father? Or?
I mean, the Solo twins, like obviously one of them falls to the dark side, but it wasn't due to a poor upbringing. Like like Jaina Solo was a paragon of the Jedi Order, sword of the Jedi at the time when that meant something. Like literally the ideal portrayal of a Jedi in history.
Yeah, and it does sound like from the little bits we know of Kylo's past that he does kind of blame his family a bit, for the way he is, or he's at least angry about his family, so much so that he's willing to kill his dad and almost popped his mom, but let one of his wingman to do it instead so he could say he didn't take the shot. So when you're willing to kill your parents, even if it makes you a little sad inside, typically is a result of a poor upbringing. So shame on you, Leia and Han. Where are your priorities? Who needs to save the galaxy when you have to save your son, who in the end became the thing you need to save the galaxy from?
Exactly.
All right. Well, there you go, my friends.
From the fans.
There's our latest round of hot takes. Doesn't mean we're done with them for this year, but we're probably going to put them to bed at least for a few more months. Maybe once or twice a year, 3 times a year. You never know. Yeah. It's basically, I want to do these when I don't feel like thinking about shit. All right. So that's why this came up here.
Yeah. Bango's right. Like Han really went off the wagon when that moon fell on Chewbacca. Like that was really the.
I was going to say, I can't see that, but that's because the stream has crashed out on that side. The
stream.
I love YouTube, man. It's back. Is it YouTube or is like the signal I send to it so cancerous that it can't handle it for too long? Either way, it doesn't matter. We are moving into this week's fan segment. That's right, people. We do it every week. Get involved. Follow us on our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Discord. We got links everywhere. You just got to find them. There's some in this description of this video, or you can head on over to StarWarsTime.net to get that stuff into your brain and looped in. We always do a question of the week segment where we ask you something that is kind of themed to what we were talking about on the show. So this week, we wanted to ask you about your thoughts on Mr. Gilroy. That's right. The Lord himself is returning to the show. There's the question. Is Tony Gilroy the best new Star Wars storyteller?
This is a spicy one. So we got some responses here from the fan base. Boozy Man Child first. He says, for me, it's quite possibly a yes. I love season 1 and cannot wait for season 2 of Andor. I can see why the other guys are saying what they are, but for me, Andor works a treat.
I like that saying. That's got to be a UK saying. Andor works a treat. Is anyone from the UK still in here? Explain that to us, please. Go ahead, Nick.
Our resident Tones UK expert is gone for right now. But yes, moving on. League of Extraordinary Sixthers. She says, Gilroy is a great storyteller for Star Wars as long as the script doesn't involve space wizards. If you notice, none of his work involves Jedi or Sith. I would be interested to see how he could handle that. I mean, I get like he did like 5 minutes of Vader, which was fucking awesome Vader work. But I want to see if he could do proper storytelling with the wizards, as League said. 2797 Studios, Mr. Bad says, no, because he's not the only one writing Andor. Didn't he only actually write like 2 episodes? And Andor is really kind of Andor is really kind of a select viewership. You and I enjoyed it, but the original reaction wasn't very positive, if I'm remembering correctly. So there you go. Mando Mugshot says, on the basis of season 1, no. He's a good storyteller for sure, but a Star Wars storyteller, the jury is still out.
Mando better watch out because he's about to get his house raided by Clan Gilroy.
Uh-oh. Tony has your information.
You are screwed.
Just keep an eye out. Be Mad says, honestly, yes. He's the only one that's not banking on OT or prequel characters. All the characters are relatable in Andor to some degree. The world feels lived in, doesn't disrupt canon, and first to do live-action Imperial bank heist. That was pure cinematography bliss. I don't know about not using OT in prequel characters. I mean, like, he's definitely dipping, like he is relying heavily on OT storytelling.
Not characters. I mean, I guess from Andor himself and Mothma.
Like Mon Mothma, and like Mon Mothma is like, whether you like
she's
her or
as
not,
OT
like,
as it
OT
gets,
character.
I'd say.
Yeah, so I mean, Saw Gerrera is a OT, like a Rebels character that he, or a Clone Wars character that he took in as well. So I don't know about that, but hey, still good. Mac 122198 says yes, he's up there with Dave Filoni.
Who's Dave Filoni these days? Just kidding. All right, real quick, we got a special request with a tip coming from Bango. Told me to save it for the fan segment, so I did. I will oblige. Shameless self-promotion. Save it for the fan segment. Oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to read that part. I posted my second book online if anyone is interested. Both of them are up. I can send a link to the lads. Also, long live SWTS forever!
Hey, there you go. Put the names of your...
Yeah, link us, dude. I'll throw it in the Discord,
Bango,
whatever you want to do, buddy. We're here for you. We appreciate you.
We'll give you as much as we can.
Hopefully you're enjoying your Wednesday, Friday with the SWTS. All right.
And then Bango hit us with another 10 just now and says, here's my answer. Yes, because he isn't weighed by nostalgia. He focuses on the story first and works the characters in rather than working the story to the characters.
I'm just going to make sure. Let's only do shows when it's a Bango Friday. Okay. I love this guy.
Call him a Bango Friday.
All jokes aside, Bango, we speak your name. We see you. We appreciate you. Glad you're a part of the team.
Yes. Thank you, Bango. But if that's the
My
case,
wine
Bango,
is glorious.
why did he name the show after one of the characters?
Yeah, right. Fucking Tony. All right, Nick, let's take us into the top 5.
That is right. It's time for the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. To get involved, make sure to follow us at StarWarsTime.show on Instagram and tag us at StarWarsTime.show on all of your Star Wars fan art features. All right. First up, we got Coleccionista de Plástico on Instagram. Make sure to follow. And Coleccionista is giving us an awesome, it's like partial scene recreation from ESB Dark Side Cave when Luke takes out who he thinks is his father, but really, or who he thinks is Darth Vader, but really is himself mirrored in the Vader mask that explodes after he chops off Vader's head. I mean, honestly, that's one of the coolest scenes in all of Star Wars, in my opinion, that Force Cave on Dagobah scene, and captured beautifully here by Coleccionista de Plástico.
Yeah, Luke's kind of got that look in his eyes like, I might like this dark side shit.
Like, what could this possibly mean? Me in the mask.
Yeah, that's our friend Coleccionista _de _Plástico
on Instagram. Good stuff. Next up, Homemade Galaxy. Homemade Galaxy is giving us a couple shots.
It's good to
here.
see them. They haven't tagged in a while. They kind of come and go every few months. So it's nice to see the Homemade Galaxy clan back in here.
Homemade Galaxy. And Homemade Galaxy gives us one of the characters that I feel like we need a little bit more in Star Wars toy photography, which is Zeb. I mean, really the Rebels crew in general, but Zeb in particular. I think that Zeb is an awesome looking figure. And what is he doing? He is sitting there on the holo table playing space chess with none other than Chopper. And you know that Chopper is beating him.
100%.
And you know that Chopper is also just giving him mad shit the whole time.
Yeah, he's telling him, like, listen, you cheat, I'm going to rip off your arms.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's, Chopper. He doesn't need a Wookiee to do his arm ripping for him.
Yeah, he'll do it himself. A friendly little game of Dejarik. I love it. I love the setup. I like how you got Ezra's helmet there in the background. And you got all those Star Wars. You even got Sabine's helmet cut off there on the side as well. So awesome setup here by Homemade Galaxy. All right.
True that.
Next up,
these are always
on
winners here.
Yeah, one of our favorites all the time here. 97 Parsecs Photography on Instagram. Robert Day. A staple in the Star Wars toy photography community and the toy photography community in general, giving us an awesome look at, he said he just got this Mandalorian privateer for Christmas, and he's putting it through his paces here. So you see one of these Mandalorian privateers, one of the Night Owls, perhaps taking on just an entire troop of stormtroopers with no issue. Already got 3 of them that he's incapacitated, elbowing one in the head, and then taking out these last
scenes
2
are just
shortly.
so damn dynamic, man. I mean, 97 is just one of the best in the business.
Good stuff. 97 _parsecs _ photography. Next up, we have Karen Kolsch here. Karen Kolsch is giving us an awesome shot here of OSHA cutting down a tree for International Women's Day. A great woman for today's International Women's Day. The tree feller, inspired by the cool guy who cut down trees in my garden, but of course OSHA can do it much better. Swipe for more.
I mean, just that this even came to someone's mind to shoot is the beauty of this shot.
She put the original, like the picture of the guy cutting down her tree as the last slide, and you could see how she captured that pretty fucking well. Like that's pretty funny, awesome man. Stuff.
It's so funny. I love it.
And I'm sure that she is following all OSHA regulations.
Who knows what Karen is, because it's spelled Karin. So
yeah,
not
call them
a they for, at this point in time.
Well, She has her listed on her
Oh,
Instagram.
okay. My bad. My bad.
There we
You got
There
it.
we go.
You got it. Okay.
There we go. So good stuff there from Karen Kolsch,
like,
giving us OSHA cutting down the tree.
It's just like
good stuff.
It's perfect. Like what? I don't know. Like I'm mesmerized by this. I mean, where do you get the little chainsaw like that? And the posing's great.
The mini chainsaw.
Getting enough tension to actually look like she is hanging on. I mean, that is a brilliant setup here.
Awesome stuff. Karen Kolsch on Instagram. And to close out this week's top 5, we have Visual Horizon Toy Photo giving us another one for International Women's Day. And that is one of our favorite women in Star Wars, Ahsoka herself. We see her in pose here, almost doing like the superhero 3-point stance with her 2 white lightsabers ignited, ready to take on anything in front of her. I love the use of atmosphere there on the ground. The dio that's being used looks awesome. Like in this,
someone kick out this head pilot idiot real quick.
I will put this user in timeout, and then delete all of their messages.
Make sure to report them too. If anyone's in the chat, report that person, will you?
Yes.
Head pilot of MH370.
There we go. Yeah. So reported and removed. Done and done. Get out of here. All right. Yeah. And then, I mean, this shot of Ahsoka is just super nice. Love the use of the atmosphere, posing, everything here. Top notch from Visual Horizon Toy Photo on Instagram. And hey, that is the end of the top 5, and that is the end of our show for this week. So Matt, go ahead and close us out.
Are you guys proud of me for not popping my top? Like typically that's something that's going to twist my tits enough to where I start yelling, but you can tell not quite in the mindset today. So we'll just let that one ride and just let it remind you that we live on a planet full of scumbags. Okay. But we're not 2 of them. We try to bring some joy, some ridiculousness to you on a weekly basis here. And now you get to see the joy I get to experience on the back end with the people that interact with our content. So I guess let's put this one to bed. Not the note I wanted to end on, but I'm not even going to address what the person was doing because it was straight garbage. Probably a white piece of shit. But we'll leave it at that. All right. Whew, man, sometimes that just takes the wind out of my sails. I'm sorry, people. I'll try to get back on track here. But it's just stuff like that just reminds me of the hellscape we live in, and that it's not getting any better. It's only getting worse. And I don't know. I fear for the younger generations and my kid. But we'll leave it at that. It's going to be a bit of a somber closeout to SWTS E347 here. As always, great time hanging out with you all in the chat. Make sure to join us next week, Wednesday, 5:30 Eastern, as close as we can get. YouTube.com/Star Wars Time Show. If you are new here and you're not a racist piece of shit, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like this video, and consider joining our membership. That's right. All the details down there in the description. Get some. Get some. Get some. All right. We're going to say goodbye, and I'm going to go sit in a corner and meditate so I don't let my blood pressure get any higher than it already is. Because this is not a week to tweak someone like me. So I'm trying. All right, people. There's always time for Star Wars time. And if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you. Always.